All right, so apologize for the lack of shooting content. The weather has been a little shitty in Washington, and normally that wouldn't stop me, but it's the weather plus dickheads at the range. And for those that have seen previous videos and know the shooting spot that I go to, you know exactly what I'm talking about when I say dumb motherfuckers show up to that pit. And it's not a good time. And it's especially not good for video because as they're shooting, it fucks with the audio and it's a pain in the ass. So I'm going to get back out there. I just got 2,000 rounds, and the Atrius super selector that I have, the lever is getting replaced. They're sending out a replacement. Come to find out, it wasn't working because the thing was fucking bending and almost breaking. So I got to work on that. I thought all my shit was compatible, and it kind of wasn't. So before we get too far, the channel self-sponsored Citra Lube. It's my brand, citralube.com. Use code Agent Orange for 10% off. You guys have been killing it with the purchases, which helps me escape the 9 to 5 fucking rat race. So thank you guys. And actually, today's video is about Citra Lube, and the reason why I think it's important is because I get a lot of questions about it. There's a lot of misconceptions about it, and I figured I would kind of round it up into one video and explain it. So long story short, Citra Lube, the lube itself, and the gun cleaner were made in an attempt to remove shitty chemicals from the shooter's ecosystem. And what I mean by that is things like hops number 9 or even their oil, Breakthrough Clean, Lucas Gun Oil, all those other brands are using chemicals that fuck with your health. And just using AR-15s as an example, we all know the operation of an AR-15, right? You shoot, the gas comes back, and some of it comes out the thing, and that's it. Now, when you get a suppressor, there's a lot more gases that come out the back, and we all know that is blowback or getting gassed out or whatever. But what a lot of people don't know is those gases are coming out and they're aerosolizing whatever the fuck you used to lube your bolt carrier group and the rest of the gun. That's going with it. Whatever you put on here and you're shooting and that gas cloud gets made, it's not just the shitty chemicals from the casing itself. It's also whatever you lubed your gun with is shooting out. And I'm going to do a experiment with that to kind of illustrate it and kind of show what it looks like, just to kind of further drive the point home. But the deal is you don't want to breathe those chemicals in. You don't want them on your skin. You don't want them in your eyes. It's not good. And so I figured, why not make an alternative that should hopefully remove at least some of those shitty chemicals from the shooter's ecosystem. And so I made the lube and the cleaner. And a lot of people have said, for example, that it's just a shitty lube that smells good. And the smell of it is a byproduct of the active ingredient, which is not citric acid. To answer that misconception, it is not citric acid. It is a citrus solvent, so it is not acidic. And the whole point of it is basically to clean your gun. So the whole point of this one isn't just to lubricate the gun, but the citrus solvent helps keep the carbon from sticking. So when you go to clean the gun next time, it should just wipe right off. Now, obviously, you can aid the cleaning process with the cleaner, but the idea behind the citrus solvent in it was to help keep the carbon from sticking and becoming clumped on and caked on, which will affect reliability, obviously. Another thing that is worth pointing out is when you use hops or breakthrough, those are chemicals that are flammable, and they fill your room with flammable vapors. It's not just that they're unhealthy to breathe in or that they smell bad. It's also that they're flammable, and a lot of people don't really think about that. And so, like, for example, if you've seen on the Instagram for Citra Lube, citra.lube, There is a breakthrough clean that basically the chemical that it's made out of exposes you to flammable vapors very, very, very quickly. And so just to show you that we don't do that, so nothing's happening other than, now my area smells good and my desk is cleaner now. But the whole point is that you can use this in enclosed spaces. You can use it in your bedroom, in your living room, whatever. And one of the byproducts of that, one of the things that a lot of people have reported to me, which is cool, is that, before when they would clean their guns with hops number 9 or breakthrough, that their girlfriends would be mad because it would make the room smell like shit. And, I know that we like the smell of hops number 9 because it's nostalgic, but, a lot of wives and girlfriends and shit out there, they don't like it. So this helps because it smells good. And, if you can get your wife or girlfriend to kind of help, right? Like maybe they're not fully into shooting, but you're like, hey, clean the pistol while I clean the rifle. And you start kind of introducing them into that, type of thing. And you make it just that much easier by using something like this. I mean, that's pretty important. Getting your significant other involved in the hobby is very important, at least in my opinion. The next thing is that a lot of people think that this can rust or fuck up the finishes on their guns. That is not the case. I've tested it out on rattle can. I've tested it out on anodized, on plastic. I've tested on Cerakote, on a bunch of shit, and it has not affected it. Now, obviously, if you're worried about that kind of thing, I always say test it out on a small area first and see what happens. Obviously, if you have a very, very, very light coating of rattle can, maybe you would have an issue, but realistically speaking, when you do super light coats, anything will fuck that up. But I have not noticed any issues with either product and fucking up a finish. Actually, this is really good on wood. So if you have like an AK or other wood guns, this brings out a nice shine to wood furniture. Another thing that I like to do with Citra Lube that not a lot of people know about is that if you use the lube on the tapers of your suppressor, so like I was saying in another video, if you lubricate your tapers, you reduce the risk of your can getting carbon locked. Citra Lube does work with that. Obviously, your first couple shots might be a little smoky, but it's a small price to pay to make sure that these things don't get fucking stuck on, which really sucks. It doesn't happen much with the Reardon stuff, but this KGM can, it does that a lot. But lubing it up helps remove that issue. A lot of people will ask, can I use it on things like a 2011? Yes, you can. I know a lot of people that use them on like Sand Vipers, Staccatos, CZs, a whole bunch of other like tight tolerance type guns. And I know there's someone out there that's going to bitch about this being a Prodigy. I know their first models sucked. I know, right? You're not going to convince me, or you're not going to tell me that, I'm some fucking Springfield Prodigy fanboy and, I don't know about the shitty stuff. I do know about it. But this one is the rare exception. This thing is a fucking monster. It chugs like no problem. But the Citra Lube works fine on this. Works great with the suppressor. Like, I've not had any issues using this on any gun that I own. And so use it as you would a regular lubricant. Just know that it's not fucking you up like the others. And so one other thing that is, if people don't understand, the reason why I talk about, hops sterilizing you or protecting your balls with Citra Lube is that the chemicals that are in these other brands are not good for your reproductive health, and it can affect your ability to have a kid, and it can potentially affect your ability or your kid's ability to develop properly. So like if you're a woman and you're shooting a lot, obviously I don't know what the rules are on shooting a lot while pregnant, but let's just say that you're cleaning or exposed to these chemicals or whatever, it can affect the child's development. and your ability to have a kid in the first place. And if you don't believe me, read the safety data sheets and the chemicals of things like hops number 9. Those chemicals are really not good for you to be exposed to. And, with glyphosate out there and, apparently overconsumption of Tylenol making your kid autistic and all these chemicals out there that make life worse than it needs to be, like removing one and replacing it with this is just, it's not a bad idea. And that's not me trying to sell it to you. I would actually advocate that you use any brand that's non-toxic. There's a couple that say they're non-toxic, but they're really not really non-toxic. I would say the only other brand that I really endorse for gun lube is Gun Butter. The owners and all the people there are fucking awesome. It's a great product. So if you're not using Citra Lube, use Gun Butter. And the reason I say that is because there's a lot of brands out there that really do not give a fuck about your health. And there's some others out there that are small businesses, and I'm not going to name names because I don't want to do that with the small businesses. With the giant corporate ones, I could give 2 fucks about them. There's enough boomer fuds out there that'll keep them in business, trust me. But with the small businesses, I don't want to trash them because I don't want to take money out of their bank account. I don't want to be the reason why somebody doesn't go buy their product. I kind of want you to make that decision yourself with all factors considered, right? And so, a brand like Gun Butter, they care about your health, right? Their ingredients and their, process and their ethos, I guess you could say, their whole thing is also being a safe alternative. So if it's not me, please use Gun Butter. But there's other smaller brands out there that are literally using motor oil and synthetic or potentially not synthetic grease, and they're mixing the two and calling it a gun lube. And for example, the School of the American Rifle, they have their whole thing on their DIY gun lube, and $15 to $20 in fucking materials will make you a lifetime of fucking gun oil. But the problem is that's fucking motor oil and synthetic grease. That is not good for you to be interacting with like that. It's not good to be breathing in when you shoot suppressed. It's not good for you to have on your hands, and then you wash your hands and then go eat. There's still remnants of that shit on your hands. Like with Citra Lube, it's perfectly fine. In fact, the ingredients that are in it are good for your skin. So a lot of people have actually reported that if after using it, it helps make their hands feel good, right? Like, and I'm not trying to say, you gotta have soft hands. I'm just saying there's a big difference between being able to put this on your body versus Lucas Gun Oil that's like, hey, do not put this on your body. Their own safety data sheet is like, don't put this on your skin. So imagine interacting with those chemicals on a regular basis and breathing them in when you shoot suppressed. It's just not good. So that's pretty much about it. The future of Citra Lube is basically just going to be the 2 main products. I don't like drop-based merchandising. I do have one product that will be kind of, I don't want to say limited, but it's going to be kind of just like a fun thing that's going to come out. And it's, when it sells out, it sells out. I'm not going to hit you with the fucking fear of missing out thing and being like, it's only available for 2 days. You have to buy it now. It's just buy it at your leisure. But that's still in testing. I'm working on a grease as well for those that have asked. A lot of people have asked for a grease. That's in development. And then obviously giant fucking bottles at a steep discount. So this is 4 times the size of this. This is 4 ounces. This is 1. But it'll be a pretty big discount. So that way it kind of incentivizes, obviously, to buy more. And, it kind of takes future sales for me because it's going to take a while for you to get through this. But I would rather you have more of this at a discount than, feel like you have to spend a lot of money getting a bunch of this. Next video for the channel is going to be about this legitimate Daniel Defense Riz 2 versus this Chinese one, because I spent a lot of money on the real one, and then I was like, well, I want one for my 10.5, so I'll buy this. And when I got it, I realized that this fucking thing is basically almost 1-to-1 the quality of the real one. And so I'm going to do a video about kind of beating it up a little bit and, kind of see if it will hold up. And so that's going to be the next video, hopefully. I'd like to get into some more long range. This fucking build gets absolutely zero fucking action, but there's nothing I can do. Washington State fucking sucks for this type of thing. And like, if you're in Washington and you know some spots that aren't fucking super far from the, Seattle, Tacoma area, please let me know. I am dying to get this thing out. I mean, even just fucking 300 to 500 yards would be nice. And I can't even get that here. It fucking sucks. So if you know any spots, let me know. Because again, if you shoot at that pit, if you live in Washington, you know that pit fucking sucks. I'm trying to make my way back to Arizona. That's actually what the whole point of this is, to get out of the 9-to-5 matrix and move back to Arizona, because I was much happier there and I was able to do a lot more long range. So that's why I'm trying to get the fuck out. So that's pretty much about it. Thank you for watching. Again, citralube.com. Agent Orange is the code for 10% off. And buy FRTs, buy super safeties, buy body armor. Fuck the federal government. They're Zionist rats. They're all ran by pedophiles. And fuck that shit.